Hey guys, we are back with another episode of the Beast Zone. We got another killer drummer today that's going to give us some insight on his background and his upbringing on playing drums and stuff. Before we get into that, we're going to talk about the channel. I've been doing this for a little bit now. I've got some really killer guys that have come, and I got a whole bunch more that I plan on interviewing. So if you like what's going on here, give us a thumbs up, subscribe to the channel, so whenever I do post something, you'll be well aware of it. Like I said, there's no frills or nothing going on here. It's just raw. We're just talking, chit-chatting. I'm picking his brain about stuff locally, and just different subject matter that has to do with drums, because drums are very vital to the band, as we all know, so we have to definitely give attention to that. So anyway, so without further ado, Mike Hardison.
Hey.
How you doing, brother?
Good, man. Thanks for having
me.
me.
Good to see you. I'm glad you're here. I'm so glad you're here. Let me tell you about this guy here. I've seen him play lots of times. He's a very hard hitter. The only way I can describe it is, well, I've got a nickname for him. I call him the Hammer, because he just plays with some very solid hits and stuff. When I see him playing, it's like he's framing a house. He's just swinging, and man, you can hear every single lick that this man puts out. So if you haven't caught him playing for anybody, he's going to elaborate on some of the bands that he has played with, or he is playing with, and maybe you can catch him, but I would definitely suggest doing that. So without further ado, again, Mike, I just want to let you just start from the beginning and tell us how you started, what age, maybe what year, and how you actually got introduced to drums when you were younger, and got us to this point.
Yeah, man. Thanks again for having me. So I grew up. My dad was a musician, and a pretty active musician. He was in lots of bands when I was growing up, and so I was always kind of I had a lot of experience just having that be a part of our family. And my grandparents were piano and fiddle players and whatnot, and so it was always just kind of an integral part of growing up. And for many years, I wanted my dad to teach me how to play guitar.
Okay.
And I don't know if he just kind of knew something I didn't know, but he just kind of kept putting it off and saying, no, you'll figure out.
What age are we talking here?
Oh, so really from the time I was just, from the time I can remember.
Okay.
He was
so
playing.
Real young.
He was playing. Yeah.
Okay.
He was a very talented guy. He was a great bass guitarist, great keyboard player. Could play, proficient guitar, and sing. So I remember just always wanting to play guitar. Kind of learn how.
Yeah.
And he just kind of kept, just kind of avoiding the subject.
Yeah.
And I tell you, the catalyst for all that, for the drumming, was my parents were divorced, and so my mom and my stepdad and myself and my sister, we ended up moving to Colorado.
Oh, okay.
From here in Texas. And so when we moved to Colorado, I was in 7th grade. I joined the junior high band.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
And there's no guitar.
No, there's
right?
no guitar.
And so I was like, I want to play drums. And the band director was like, well, everyone wants to play drums.
Right.
So how about clarinet?
Oh my goodness.
And I'm like, oh crap.
Man.
So I played clarinet for, I guess, a semester of junior high band, and then then a lot of the kids kind of drop out of band or whatever. So a couple of spots came open on the drum line.
That's awesome.
So I started playing in 7th and 8th grade. Was not very good. It was not a. We had a really solid music program in our school.
Right.
And I'll get to that in a second, but. There wasn't a real drum teacher. We had a band director.
Yeah.
And so everyone was kind of self-taught. He would kind
right.
of give us the music, we'd work on it. My freshman year of high school, are you familiar with drum corps?
Drum corps, yeah.
Drum and bugle corps, drum corps international.
Yes. Mm-hmm.
So my freshman year of high school, a buddy of mine was in a drum corps.
Okay.
And he asked me to go try out. So I went and tried out, and I made the corps, and I was playing in the pit. So I was playing 4-mallet marimba, some xylophone stuff.
Yeah.
And just from playing in the pit, which you wouldn't think it would translate, but just from playing in drum corps, which is it's very regimented,
yes,
right?
It is.
So you're playing especially during the summer, you're playing 12 hours a day, you know, working on that music. And my chops got really solid, and I came back to school that next year, and I became center snare for the marching band.
Right.
Again, tried out for another year of drum corps and made snare drum.
Awesome.
Never played drum set.
Never played
drum set.
Okay.
So I think that really kind of formed my my personality as far as a musician.
Yeah.
To be a real regimented, strict, time-keeping guy. Because in drum corps, you know, you got hundreds of people trying to stay together, and not to mention you've got a snare line that all has to play exactly together. I mean, that's has to be perfect.
Exactly.
So the timekeeping was a real big thing for me early on, and I mean probably to the point of sacrificing feeling. Okay.
Yeah.
So I got through high school. I moved back to Texas to help out with some family stuff. We lost a little brother of mine in a car wreck, and so I came back to help out. My dad was like, "Hey, you know, a drummer can't be a drummer without a drum set."
Yeah.
So we got my first drum kit from McCarty Music. Yeah.
Awesome.
So I was 18 years old. Never played. I played. Yeah. Toyed around on a kit, you know, in high school, but didn't have a band or anything like that.
Well, I mean, how was the transition from just playing the snare? Now you got a bass drum, you got a hi-hat, you got toms and cymbals. I mean, how did you like come naturally? Because now you're sitting down. Because you know, in marching band, you're not sitting down; you're standing up.
That's right.
How was that transition to the drum?
Yeah, that's a great question. I think just because it's the only thing I know.
Okay.
To me, I think it's the perfect progression.
Okay.
Because I learned every rudiment.
Yes, there you go. Rudiments.
And the rudiments were key, right?
Yeah,
like you have to play rudiments perfect.
Exactly.
And so for me to go from that to drum kit, the rudiments were there. All the paradiddles, the double paradiddles,
so you're
the flams.
You're already ahead of the curve.
Right.
On a lot of guys, because a lot of guys start out playing drums and they have no clue
about any rudiments.
None of that.
Right.
You're right.
The rudimentary part's gone.
So you actually did it correctly by doing the band. And I was in A band and marching band in junior high. And I remember, you know, like you said, you have to be very strict on, and you're playing with other people. I was actually playing with girl drummers.
Oh,
so
cool.
Add that to holy crap, they can play, I've got to play, you know.
Yeah, you got to impress.
So I had to make sure I was like Johnny on the spot with them because I didn't want to be embarrassed.
Sure.
So anyway, go ahead about you.
Yeah, and one, just backtrack a little bit, our high school band was very talented. We had a really good program.
Right.
And my last 3 years, my sophomore, junior, and senior year, I wrote the book for our drum line.
Really?
And our sophomore, junior, and senior year, we won best drum line in the state.
Wow.
And our senior year, the high school band won the state championship.
Which state?
Colorado.
Colorado.
Yeah.
Okay.
So
Colorado.
won the state championship for band.
Gotcha.
So that's the nerd in me, right? So got that part out. So moved to Texas.
Yeah.
Got my first drum kit, which was
awesome.
a '91 Tama Rockstar, Lars Ulrich.
Yeah,
played,
yes, absolutely, yeah.
Loved that kit. You know, had the big deep shell toms, you know, and just thought that was great. It was a misty chrome. And both kicks, you know, it was a double bass, which I'd never played.
Oh wow, right to double bass?
Oh yeah,
holy shit.
Yeah, for sure. And so, only thing I knew how to do was like little bitty, you know, drum fills with a double kick into the snare or something, you know.
So what music are you listening to as far as like inspiration? I mean, are you listening to the radio and you hear a band and you're like, I like that? Or did you already have some bands in mind that musically that you like, I like to learn them kind of drums?
Yeah, that's a good question too. So even though I didn't have a drum kit in high school, I was always very eclectic with my music.
Okay.
Right? I liked everything from Billy Joel and Michael Jackson to I liked Slayer. Mm-hmm. Okay, so the thing with me is, we didn't have a drum kit, so at night I would watch Headbangers Ball.
Exactly.
Remember on Friday nights, you know, Headbangers Ball, Saturday night, whatever.
If any of you don't know what Headbangers Ball is, then you're way too damn young.
You are
because
too young.
I'm telling you, that was the 80s was the best decade in my opinion. But Headbangers Ball was just the icing on the cake.
Yeah.
If you were into that kind of music, you were watching.
For sure. There was a time, kids, when MTV played music videos.
Oh man, that was the thing.
Instead of reality shows.
Yes, exactly.
So Headbangers Ball obviously was just what 2 hours of
2
just
hours.
metal.
Yeah, Ricky
And
Rocket.
oh yeah, it was great. And you know, of course, back then metal is not like it is now.
No,
it was everything from glam rock.
Yes,
you know, to I guess probably the heaviest would have been
Oh,
probably like Maiden or Megadeth.
Yeah,
or something
yeah,
like that.
at that point. Yeah.
So I was a huge like hair metal guy. I loved Motley Crue. I loved Wasp and Poison and all those guys. So what I would do is I would take throw pillows from my mom's couch,
right?
And those were toms.
Yeah.
And I would take the seat cushion from the couch. That was my floor tom.
Wow.
And I would sit on the floor and I would play all these songs on Headbangers Ball on this pillow.
But you had drumsticks?
I had drumsticks, yeah, because
Okay,
I was in marching band.
Okay,
you know,
okay,
yeah.
so you did it.
Yeah, so
you were just improvising.
That's right, yeah. And
doing the
I think just having the knowledge and the base of all the rudiments, picking up cover tunes was super easy for me.
Yeah.
So it was a matter of putting it together with the kick drum.
Yeah.
Once I got
once you got
the drums. But I'll tell you, my dad did a really good thing for me. We had a studio not unlike yours here, and great sound system, and he was in a band, so that was kind of where they would practice. Well, my kit was set up in there. So anytime I wanted, I could go in there, blare, blare all these cassette tapes. These were cassettes back then. Yeah. And so I would put them in and I would play along with them, which I really think helped really even more so solidify my drum keeping, my time keeping, because I was playing with a recording.
Right.
You
so
know?
it's like playing with a click track.
Yeah.
That's already recorded.
For sure.
And it's exactly.
So even though I missed out on a lot of things, like, you know, a lot of my peers were already in bands. You know, you guys were in bands already, probably in 15, 16 years old.
Oh, yeah.
Here I am, 19, in my dad's studio playing along with Tommy Lee or whatever.
Yeah.
And so, so not only was I really getting a good foundation of timekeeping, I was having to learn all these parts. And I think this is the most important thing. It's taken me a long time to get to the point where I can feel like I can talk about my playing.
Sure.
That's where I think I really learned how to get the sound out of a drum. Because it was important to me when I was playing that the snare sounded like the recording. And the same snare, you can get so many different sounds out of it.
Yes.
You know, one of my favorite quotes is, you remember the studio drummer Zorro?
Zorro.
He was kind of a pop drummer. He did a clinic here at, remember Tarpley Music?
Oh yes, I do remember that. Tarpley Music.
He took a cheap kit one time and he tuned it up and he started playing it, and it sounded amazing. And he told everyone, the sound of the drums is in your hands. You know, you can play, you can hear me play this kit, hear someone else play it, sounds different, right? And I really worked hard on trying to figure out, okay, when I hit the cymbal this way, this is the sound I get out of it.
Exactly.
When I play the tom this way, this is the sound I get out of it.
Well, let me just ask you real quick. In my experience, I was always trying to figure out the angle of the drum. Because I used to see drummers, and I swear to God, they had the drums that looked like
remember in the 80s?
Like
almost facing them.
And I'm like, how do you play that? And then I tried that, and I'm like, that can't be right, because I started thinking about my wrist. I'm like, if the stick is going like that, I couldn't grasp that. And then I saw drummers playing with them more flatter, and then, you know, so I did a lot of experimenting.
Yeah, for sure.
Did you have the same
tons of that. Matter of fact, I watched an interview one time with the greatest drummer of all time, I think, Buddy Rich.
Yeah.
He would set his snare facing forward. I never could get to that point, but he would set it facing forward, so when he would hit, the rebound of the stick was going towards the toms. So he already had that less energy needed,
I see what you're saying.
So I started doing that with my tom. So my tom kind of faces the second tom, and the second tom kind of faces the third. Okay. And so, but yeah, you just kind of toy around with that and get it just right.
And the snare is the same thing. You know, a lot of guys had them straight. I mean, I used to watch bands on Midnight Special and stuff, and they'd show the drummer, and there again, I swear the snare was almost like this, dude.
Yeah.
You know, I don't know how they're playing that.
Yeah.
And I'm like, no, that ain't for me. But I mean, everybody had their own way, but that does make a difference, and you have to figure out where your alignment is on your toms to be able, because you don't want to hit rims all night, obviously. So, but you don't want to hit the drum and you can't get the tone out of it because you're hitting it dead on at this angle. So
a lot of people think dead center is where you hit.
Yeah,
it's not.
It's not. No.
Kind of in between that.
You're right. Yeah.
One other thing is, I think a lot of people, you mentioned in the intro that I play hard.
Yes.
And if you ever watch me playing the backbeat with my left hand, I don't really play that hard. I do have kind of a whip motion from marching, but I also play a rim shot on every backbeat. Okay. So 2 and 4 is always a rim shot.
Yes, it sounds solid.
It's solid every time.
Yes, it's solid. Yes.
But I'll be honest with you, not to take away from anything, because I know it's typically a compliment when people say, "Oh man, you play the hell out of those drums." I kind of feel like it's a knock on my musicianship because I play rock.
You do. Yes.
So that's the way you play rock,
exactly.
right?
It is.
But if I'm going to play country,
well, sure.
I'm going to play dynamic.
Yes,
I'm going to play
then you tone it down. And
for sure.
Exactly. We talked about that with the other guys about having a little bit of background on the dynamics, and I had explained to them about the slow playing, the songs that are slower to me are more difficult, and you just have to find that finesse and get in that pocket.
That's right.
So you have to think a little bit different, because like you said, when you're wailing away, just straight beats.
Yep.
That's what you're doing. You're wailing because
exactly
the band's loud, so you got to be loud. It doesn't call for you to be light.
Yeah, that's right.
But some situations it does. So you have to be able to adjust to your what you're playing.
That's right. Yeah, so I started playing the kit. My first band ever was
who was that?
A band with my dad.
Oh wow!
Okay. So I moved to Texas. We got my drums, and they were in a band called the Baby Boomers. You may have remembered them. I don't know. They were from Vernon. They were all a bunch of older baby boomer guys.
Okay.
They were old, but they were younger than I am now, right?
Okay.
But they were old at the time, and so my dad was the oldest guy in the band. They were all really seasoned musicians. Yeah. Great 4-part harmonies. Yeah. We played 50s, 60s, 70s rock. And their drummer moved. And so they're like, "Hey, you want to play?" And so I stepped in, started playing, and I played with them for a few years. And I tell my son, who's also a drummer and a really, really talented musician all around, if you get a chance to play with a bunch of older guys, please do it.
Yes.
You will learn more
you will.
in that setting than you ever will with your peers.
It brings you back down to being grounded.
That's exactly right.
Because then you can oh wow,
I learned so much.
Yeah, you have
learned
to.
So. My dad, who didn't ever pick up a pair of drumsticks, was the first and maybe only person who ever taught me that a drummer can play on the front of the beat, or on the back end of the beat, or in the center of the beat. Yeah. And that didn't make any sense to me at the time, but you're playing, like you were saying, you're playing a slower song.
Yes.
It needs to be fat. It needs to be on the back end of that beat, and just be able to breathe.
Because it's so slow that it's almost like you don't want to fall one way or the other, and if you do, it's going to be very noticeable.
Absolutely.
So that's why, anytime we do a slow song, it's like, man, I got to concentrate here because I'm watching and listening, and you don't want to rush.
No. And when you start playing on the front end, the band will start to pick up on it, and it'll start to speed up a little bit.
It will, absolutely.
Yeah,
absolutely.
So you just let what I've always said is you got to let the song play itself, right? You got to let the song determine the tempo.
It's almost, it's like a feeling. You get that feeling, and you finally find that groove. Because when the singer's singing, you got to remember he's spitting out words, so he's got to have enough time to get the words out. So that's what I'm saying. You can't be in front of the song. You got to be right there behind it. So that way he can get the words out, the song's moving along, everything's flowing. It's a beautiful thing.
It really is.
It really is.
It really is it's an ensemble, right? I mean, it's truly what it is. That's a good point about the singer. I learned that from one of my best friends and great songwriter, Eric Walker. We played in a band called Carp.
Okay.
And when we would write a song, he was the primary songwriter, but when we'd be working on that song, a lot of people think, well, the drummer's in charge of the tempo. Let's figure out what the drummer wants the tempo to be. Yeah. It was always the vocalist.
Yes.
Always. The vocalist can't get the words out that he's trying to say, and that's what determines the tempo.
Got to speak the words out.
It's our job to maintain it, right?
To maintain that continuity there where he can still freely express and say his words, but like I said, we're not rushing him, because if you do, he's not going to be happy. He's not going to be happy.
So I was in that band with the Baby Boomers, a bunch of guys from Vernon, older guys, learned a ton from those guys. When not to play, I've always said I used to talk to a buddy of mine, James Cook, real well.
Oh yeah.
Good drummer knows when to play. A great drummer knows when not to play.
Exactly.
The space between the notes, right?
Yeah, exactly. Because everybody's got their time to do, but you know, it's more essential to have everybody doing their part, and then when it's your time to shine, by God, throw the licks in there, you know, and go for it. Yeah. Have you done any recording?
Oh yeah, a lot of recording. I've recorded some stuff just for some independent artists over the years, but you know, I recorded. So James Cook and I were in a band called Dempsey. Yeah. Really solid band back in the day. We recorded. I recorded with the Minor Prophets.
Yes, now I remember that band. Yes,
John
I do
Mason.
remember that. Yes, that was a very
we
good
recorded
band.
at.
Very good band.
We recorded at in Dallas at. Oh crap! You have to edit this part out. Casey's studio. Anyway, so we recorded down there. Great recording engineer and producer. We did our only album there. It was a wonderful experience. Very humbling, you know. Did
you use the click track?
Oh yeah, I'll use click.
So how did that go?
Yeah, so that's another thing that just kind of came natural to me. So after I moved from Vernon to Wichita Falls, I went out to college, finished school, came to Wichita Falls, and I hadn't played in a couple of years because of school.
Yeah.
And you remember the band Big Lou?
Yes.
Okay,
absolutely.
so Big Lou was without a drummer, and so I played a show with them, kind of jammed with them a little bit, played a show with them. They ended up hiring a guy out of Denton, and that kind of led to my first real, like, peer-based rock band, which was a band called Plain Jane.
Plain Jane.
It was Michael Clark.
Okay,
and me and 3 other guys, Russ Grissom, Scott Hill, and Don Rogers. And so during that time, I was playing at my church.
Yes.
And the church used a click track.
Oh,
and so
really?
I played live to a click for 15 years,
awesome.
right?
Okay.
So when it came time to record,
it wasn't like a here you go, you're gonna have to do it this way.
Right.
And a lot of drummers get caught off guard if they don't at least work with one or practice with one or something, because like I said, nowadays you can't go in the studio pretty much without.
Yeah,
it's essential. So
for sure.
So you do have to get some experience of that.
Yep.
And you can do that on your own.
Oh yeah, for sure. Matter of fact, if we're gonna go record, I prefer to practice a few times with the click on those songs, just so we can kind of figure out what the tempo's gonna be.
I mean, you're like Ricky Amador. You know, he's really into that and big on that. I mean, he's like the Neil Peart of Wichita. I mean, he's very adamant about being precise and having that, you know, and being, you know, on the spot. And that's really important, and that's good to learn and good to know. You know, so, you know, if you ever have a chance to work with a click track, I definitely would advise that. So.
Yeah, and I think a real key to that too is, so the first time I ever recorded, I remember playing with a click, and I felt like everything seemed so robotic, right? And that was kind of a big, issue with a lot of musicians. Oh, it just sounds too produced.
Yes.
You need to get so comfortable playing with a click that you play loose, and with feeling, but still with a click, right?
Because I mean, you got to feel, and the scary part for me was when you knew there was a fill coming up. So you know you got to do the fill well. You got to be back on the one, and that was the only thing that, you know. And it's weird because if you think, if you don't try to think too much about it, I think it's better instead of like thinking too hard and saying, am I going to get back on the beat, or am I going to screw it up? You know, it's
that's right.
You know, so
matter of fact, some of the times that I've recorded, if I'm having a little bit of a tough time with a particular song or a particular part, and let's say I have to do it 3 or 4 times and it's just not lining out.
Yes.
It's usually when I get so frustrated and just go, screw it, let's just try it one more time. I'm just going to play.
Yeah,
and I play, and it just fits just perfect with the click.
Because you don't overthink it.
Right.
I think that's the main thing. If you don't overthink it and you just do, like I said, just get a little loose and just play it, then usually you'll be, because your natural instinct will probably take you there.
That's right.
Or if you're overthinking, your other instinct is like, oh no, you got to do this, you got to do this.
And it really, if you're thinking about what you're going to play, it's too late.
It's too late.
It's
You're
really
absolutely right. It's too late.
So my most recent recording was my band Throttle Body.
Okay, yes,
we
I remember.
recorded at Fort Worth Sound.
Yeah.
That turned out really great. Jarrett Reddick from Bowling Pursuit helped produce that, and he sang on one of the songs. So that was a great album.
Did you? Okay, so when you do live playing, are you a fan of in-ears? Do you use in-ears or you don't?
So I've used in-ears, and we used in-ears in church all those years I was playing there.
Okay.
I've only used in-ears like in a live rock setting with one group, and no one else has them, so I don't use them anymore. So I mean, no one else in the band used them,
right?
So I just went back to using a monitor.
But I mean, do you think it was something that you would like to do like all the time, or you just like
So they've come a long way. So now they have the portholes, so you can still hear the kind of acoustics, the ambient sound, and that's so much better. I didn't like them in the beginning because I felt like I was not hearing what I was playing.
Well, the thing with me was, how do you know how hard you're hitting?
How loud am I playing?
Exactly.
Yeah, right.
So it's like, when I'm playing loud, because it doesn't sound loud.
Because it's only as loud as what you have your in-ears turned on.
So that was the only thing that kind of bothered me about it.
So now what I do is Jeff Catlin, who's a guitarist and throttle body, he kind of makes fun of me because he uses ear protection, and so he makes fun of me because I don't go out and buy ear protection. I'll use a little piece of paper towel and I just stick it in my ears, and I don't actually plug my ears. I just kind of block the sound with it.
Well, the frequency.
Yeah,
you're blocking certain frequencies.
It's keeping the eardrum from taking all that damage, but I can still hear everything the way it actually sounds.
Yeah. Well, that's good. Hell yeah. As far as okay, so you have the Tama set. How long did you have that Tama set that you bought at McCarty Music, or had you already changed sets when you got to the point where you are?
Yeah. So I kept that probably 10 years or so. I still have it actually.
Oh, really? Nice.
And then my next kit was, while I was playing in the band Carp, a good friend of mine named Randy McClung. You remember Randy? He played in Voodoo Johnson, and he died in a motorcycle wreck. And they asked me to step in and play, so I bought his kit because I wanted that to be kind of memorialized.
And which one was that?
And that was a Mapex Pro-Am.
Oh, wow. Yeah, Pro-Am, yes.
Loved it. It's a great kit, still have it.
Wow.
And awesome. So I started using that, and then I would use my my Tama in Carp. And then for my, I want to say probably my 30th or 30, no, probably, no, I wasn't that young, and that was a long time ago, 20 years. Somewhere probably around 2005, so 32 years old. My wife, Kristen, who's passed, she bought me my D-Drum Bubinga kit. It was the D-Drum, what was it called? Man, see, this is what happens when you get old. But it's the Bubinga. It's the Bubinga kit, and it's
the collectors.
It's an absolutely beautiful kit.
Oh, I bet. Yeah,
warm, so beautiful, and I love that Bubinga sound. So I started playing it a lot.
Okay.
And then just this last 2 years ago is when I got my most recent kit, which is that Thomas Star Classic, which is the
nice
walnut birch. And
yes, walnut birch. It's
definitely
nice.
by far the best sounding kit. It holds its sound for months, as long as you keep the heads tuned. It's just great. And so I love it. I'm currently playing it. I played it last weekend.
Awesome. Okay, so get us up to speed on what are you doing now? Who are you playing with, and what's going on with that project?
Yeah, so so as I mentioned, my wife passed away in January of 22, and so I took some time off. And during that time, Throttle Body kind of decided we were going to take a little bit of a break.
Yeah, right.
So we kind of get together every once in a while. But in the meantime, Bryson Lawrence, who has Blank Labels, who my good friend Ricky used to play in. And so they were looking for a drummer, so he asked me to start playing. So I started playing with them. It's probably been right at a year ago, maybe just a little over a year. And so we're playing quite a bit. We're actually getting ready to go record at Fort Worth Sound also.
Okay, so are we talking, it's an all original band?
I'd say we're probably 60 to 70% originals.
Okay.
Throw in some
well, that's good.
Some rock.
So, it should be like that. I always like bands that play at least a couple of originals. That way, just to showcase what what they got. And
absolutely.
Stuff.
And Bryson's a phenomenal songwriter, great singer. And Mackie Devine plays bass.
Okay, yeah.
We've got a guy named Angel Perez, who's a really young kid. I'm the same age as his dad, who plays guitar.
Okay.
And whenever he's not on a world tour, Ian Clark plays keyboards.
Yeah, Ian. Yeah, the traveling musician.
Yeah. Ian and the 10 bands that he's in at all times.
Hey, that's awesome, dude. When you're young like that, you need to go experience all that.
Oh yeah.
Because it's one of those deals where being at the right place at the right time, because we all, I mean, everybody's pretty much good, but it's the situation that got you to where you're at. And some people just happen to be at the right place at the right time, and they say, "Hey, we need a blah blah blah," and you're like, "Okay," and then next thing you know, boom, there you go. I mean, it can happen that fast.
Let's talk about how old I am. So one of my first giggy band was with Michael Clark.
Oh yeah,
and now, now I'm in Blake Labels with Ian, his son.
Yeah,
so,
okay.
But yeah, we're
all in that
Ian's almost kind of like, you know, it's almost like your kid. You want to see them do well.
Oh,
so
yeah, absolutely.
We would much rather him go out.
Absolutely.
You know, he's touring with the Damn Quails right now.
Yeah. He's got the energy. He's got. I mean, you know,
so talented.
When you're young, I'm telling you, you know, you can afford to take a few stumbles here and there, but you know, if you can find, you know, the situation that's right. I mean, man, I'm really proud of people that's come from Wichita Falls and that's gone out and actually, you know, made a name for themselves. And it's just like I said, it's just the situation.
Yep.
The situation took them there and stuff. So let's talk about cymbals. Or what kind of a cymbal guy are you here?
Yeah. So probably the first 25 years maybe I played I was a Zildjian guy.
Right.
Okay. Especially when I was playing a lot of hard rock stuff. I was in a band called Headthorn.
Yeah.
So I played a lot of Z Customs, A Customs.
Yeah.
Loved Zildjian.
Yeah.
But I went through this phase where it seemed like I was breaking my Zildjian cymbals a lot. They were cracking on the ends.
Yes.
Granted, I play them vigorously. But I thought, you know, I'm just going to try some other things out. Mm-hmm. So I went to Sabian.
Okay.
And so now I'm playing the Sabian.
Okay.
I play the AAX, the HHX.
Good cymbal.
Amazing cymbals. I love the sound of them, and they seem to be just as quality of sound. But to me, they're more durable.
Yeah. Okay. More
and
durable.
and I love them. And matter of fact, I just got a new one that I only play during a gig because it's $525 cymbal.
Dude.
And it sounds so good. It's called a Complex.
Really?
It's kind of the HHX series. But
HHX.
Yeah, and it's like butter.
I actually got the hi-hats, the 14-inch hi-hats.
Yeah, for sure.
And, I mean, you know, it's like anything else. You know, you move up in quality, it's going to cost you more. But like I said, when you have them, you're like, oh, I could never.
Right.
You just fall in love with them, and these are great. But cymbals are very, very expensive. Very expensive, and like I said, back in the day when I was playing, we didn't have a lot of choices. But a lot of these guys that I've interviewed, there's so much variety now. It's not even funny. And it's like, you know, Meinl and Saluda, and you know, and it's like, dude, I said we didn't have none of that shit.
I know.
I was growing up.
Well, you remember Zildjian, Heisty.
That was it.
You know,
that was it. You know, and you just went with it. You know, and then like I said, but I mean, I'm true to my roots, and I mean, these are all Pisces here, 2002s, and then when the band I played with, I used the A Custom Zildjians, and I'm happy with them. I mean, I'm sure the other cymbals sound great. I know they do. It's just, you know, how many cymbal sets can you have? You know.
Right. Yeah, for sure.
You know, so it's like I'll stick to these because this is what I'm used to, and I like them, and I know them very well. So that's what I do.
Yeah, and cymbals, I think, kind of like the snare drum, almost becomes a little bit of your signature. Yeah. You know, the snare drum especially.
Yeah, the snare drum especially. Yeah. You're right. You know, because snare drums, I don't know, man. Sometimes they're like, sometimes they're great, and then sometimes they're not great. You know, what shell do you prefer, a metal shell or a wood shell?
Yeah, I use the aluminum snare. Okay. It's a Ludwig.
Okay.
It's the most recorded snare drum in the history of recorded music.
The 402 or which one?
At the golly.
Well, we know it's Ludwig, right?
Yeah.
Okay. We know it's metal.
It's the aluminum. I can't remember the name of it. Okay. So this has been.
Okay. It's not the acrylite, is it?
Oh no, but I do have an acrylite.
Oh, do you? Okay.
Yeah. Superphonic.
Okay, Superphonic. Oh yeah. Okay, Superphonic.
Yes.
And
so love it. It's amazing. I can get all kinds of different sounds out of it.
Absolutely.
I can fatten it up whenever I want. I can make it tight, kind of like you play. And so I just love the sound.
Yeah.
And I do like wooden snares. Also, I had that Mapex kit had a maple snare. I just feel like for what I play, I like the metal sound better.
I mean, I try to have I have two metal ones and a wood one. I mean, a maple one, and it just depends on the situation. You know, if I want to play balls out, you know, heavy metal stuff, then I'm definitely going to take the metal snare,
yeah,
I'm
sure.
definitely going to take it. But if I don't play a little bit more, different types of rock, then I'm going to use the wood snare. It's just, it's like having tools, and you're like, what tool do I need for this situation? And you say, okay.
For sure.
So it's always good to have, a little bit of variety, cymbals, drums, snares and stuff, pedals. I mean, are you still a double bass player? You have double pedals?
Yeah, I use double pedals.
Okay, you do
single kick.
Okay.
I use the Iron Cobras.
Yes. Okay.
So I don't obviously play nearly as much double kick,
right.
double pedal stuff with the music that we're playing in Blank Labels,
sure.
and even Throttle Body doesn't play a whole lot of real fast double bass stuff.
Right.
But I still like it for fills. I like it for just small little things, nuance type stuff.
I got you. Okay, so it's so like your heads and your tuning. How do you look? I mean, how do you approach that?
Yeah. So to me, every tom has its own personality, right? So I'm a Evans head guy, and so I'll use the 2-ply heads on the batter side, and generally the single G1 on the bottom. Yes. But I've always had this issue generally with like a 14-inch floor tom that I can never get it to sound exactly right. It's like either too dead or it's too tight.
I know what you're saying.
And so I actually use a coated head on my 14-inch floor tom, and I use a double ply on the resonant head, and that's, for some reason, that's just the way I got mine to sing.
You're right. Floor toms, for some reason, they're just very stubborn, because like when we go play, and you know how you're set up, and the sound guy says, okay, first tom, bum 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 bum. As soon as you go down, that's when you hear that. And you're like, okay, can you tune that just a little bit higher or lower? So then you're sitting there, and you it's like embarrassing because you got this.
Right.
Like, okay, what do we need to do here? Give me some tape, somebody. Give me some gels.
Yeah, there's something. There's something
weird,
about that 14-inch that if I tighten it where it's not too dead, it's too high pitch.
Yeah.
So if I want it low enough, it's too dead. So I just have to play with it a lot.
Yeah, you do, and it's a lot. That's what I'm saying. You can sit there for hours, literally. Because I mean, you got two heads you're contending with.
Yep.
And the reason is because the air bounces, it goes down and it comes back up. So whatever that tone is down there is going to affect. So you can't be too far out of whack.
No.
You can't be too far out of whack. And then you got to take the drum, the shell, and into consideration. So yeah, it's like you got to really sit. I mean, I don't know how many hours I've sit there and just mess with it. I go, okay, we're going to go all the way high.
Yeah.
We're going to go all the way high. No, we're going to go all the way low. So it's just like trying to find a happy medium.
Yeah. And like you said, I know people who will tune specific intervals on their toms.
Yeah.
And I don't do that because that tom has its own pitch to it, right?
It does.
And so I just try to find the right pitch for that.
Based off the diameter, based off the length.
That's right. And then I also generally try to tune my resonant head about a third below my batter head, so it has a little bit of a decay to it. More of that kind of sound.
That's what I'm saying. They both have their jobs, but the way you tune them is going to affect. I mean, really affect the sound that comes out.
Yeah,
for sure.
I agree.
Is there any particular setup? You said so. I mean, your setup now, is it like 2 up, 2 down, single bass?
So with Blank Labels, I play 2 up, 2 down. I have the offset toms just like you do over here with this. Is that an 8 and a 10?
10, 12,
10, 12.
13, 14,
so I have the same setup, 10, 12. I don't have this tom here on the right. That's generally where I play my ride. So my ride is kind of flat right there. And then I play the 2 floor toms. I play in a band called Radio Republic, which we haven't played in a long time, but I only play with 1 floor tom with them.
Yeah.
But with the other bands, I generally have all 4 toms, and then the kick and snare. Yep.
Well, I always thought it was fun to play. The more drums, the more fun, because you're like
absolutely.
You're just going down the line. Yeah. So now, whether I want to move them to go play is a different story.
For sure.
But if they're going to just sit there, I'd love to have them all. Because like I said, you come out and you jam and you just get all the killer sounds and licks and stuff. But you don't want to move them.
Didn't you have a big? Was it a Pearl kit?
Yeah, it was a Pearl set.
Back in the 90s?
Well, no, it was earlier than that, way earlier than that. I bought a set, and I bought every size of Pearl drums, 6, 8, 10, 12, 14, 15, 16, 18, and the 22 bass drum, dude. Wow. It was like, it was amazing because I mean, just the sounds you could get out of that, it was just crazy. But like I said, moving it is a whole different story. And setting it up and micing it, my gosh, you know, you couldn't mic every individual drum, so you had to pair them. You had to pair them like exactly. Yeah. So it was like, man, they were just fun. They were just fun to play. Mm-hmm. They really were. But so do you have anything social media wise or anything musically that somebody could go check out? Any number of projects that you've been in to go hear, you know, just to hear what you've done.
Yeah. So I think most recently, so both Throttle Body and Blank Labels have recordings on pretty much all your streaming platforms.
Okay.
You know, Apple Music, Spotify, Pandora. So you can find those there. We're going to record some more here, I think this before the end of the year.
Do you have anything personally, you know, that you have set up just, I mean, other than a Facebook page? I mean, do you have any other, just like...
You know, I don't have any music-specific social media stuff. It's just my personal stuff, you know. I kind of try to, you know, market whatever band I'm playing with at the time.
The only
reason I think is a bigger reach anyway, because when you have more of like a professional one, it's like it's a little limited on how many people you got.
Yeah, well, you're right. You're right. Yeah.
So I can reach more of our friends.
Sure, absolutely.
Personal one, so.
And then if somebody likes something, then you know they're like, hey, check this guy out, or whatever. You know, they can just pass it on and stuff like that. So that's cool. And like I said, just real quick before we end this interview here, what is your thoughts on the local scene? And what I mean by that is, do you like the mix of the bands that are here, like tributes, cover bands, you know, original bands? Do you think, is there anything that you think that Wichita Falls musicians or the music scene can do to make anything better in town?
That's a good question. I don't really have anything negative to say, and I'll tell you why. I think you and I have had this conversation before, and I know I've had this conversation with numerous musicians here in town, and even my friend Jarrett from Blowing Pursuit. This might be the best quality of musicians per capita of any town.
Absolutely.
There is so much talent in this town, and it's been that way for years.
Yes.
And on any given weekend, you can go see a local band that rivals any band you'll see in Dallas, Oklahoma City, Austin.
Yeah, absolutely.
Every one of them.
You're absolutely right, and that's what amazes me. I'm like, this town, it's just got so many killer musicians and projects, and if one band disbands, then the next thing you know, there's another project, and it sounds. It's just got a lot of quality elements.
Yep.
And the only thing, like I said, I've always complained about this is just the availability of venues here. I mean, you're very, 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 very limited for all the bands that play here. You know, that's the only thing. But I mean, on the other hand, we're not a big city, so it's kind of like, what do you do?
How do you get the butts in the seats anyway if you've got so many? You know, that's the hard part about it, right?
You're right.
You know?
You're right.
But I'll tell you another thing that I'm really proud of with this town and this music community is, I don't know if you really had this feeling back in the day, you know, back in the 80s. Seemed like everything was a competition.
It was.
Yeah, it's a real community now.
Yeah.
Like, it's a brotherhood, sisterhood.
Yeah.
I never play a show anymore where there's not 15 musicians.
Yeah, right.
Not there to judge. They're just to support you.
Yeah.
You know, and of course, there's so many of us that are in numerous bands together, right?
Yeah.
But
we've all grown to know each other, what we're about, and like I said, lots of us have been already intertwined with bands, in and out of bands. So, you know, it's great when your buddy got the project going and he's playing and he's got a new project. You're like, yeah, let's check it out. You know, you're absolutely right. I went to the Bud Daniels Park concert last night, and you know, that's a great thing. I'm glad they do that because you know, there's another bit of an avenue of bands to play.
Brass Skulls.
Yes, it's Brass Skulls. Yeah, they were awesome. So that's another little, and that helps. Like I said, you know, just different things. And then in, like St. Patty's Day, you got the outdoor deal.
Right.
You got some bands playing. They always have a local band. Always, if not more than one, maybe two. So I like that a lot. I mean, you know, the more places and things to do to play, then everybody gets the chance to showcase, you know, what they're doing at the time.
Yeah.
So
it's a great community. Yeah. It's a great. I try to go out and support as often as I can. You know, I love the musicians here in town.
Yeah, and like I said, it's all. I mean, it's all great, especially when you go and you see your friends there and everybody's jamming out and stuff like that.
Yeah, for sure.
So I'll tell you what. Well, did you bring some sticks? You got some
I think I have some sticks.
You think so?
Yeah, I think so.
Let's see if he's got some sticks. Do you
I
mind?
didn't bring any talent, but I brought
Well,
some sticks.
I'll tell you what. I'm going to give you a shot at playing and see what you can do, and then we'll kind of go from there. But we definitely want to hear him play, right? Hell yeah. Okay.
Brought flip flops.
Okay.
To play in.
We're going to watch him play in flip flops, so make sure you remember that. All right, Mike Hardison. Let's see what you can do here for us. I appreciate you coming. I really do.
Man, thanks for having me.
And like I said, just wail away, brother.